Hello, everyone, and welcome to the U.S. Center and our event here at 5 o'clock, jumpstarting the global deployment of new nuclear energy. It's my honor to introduce to the stage David Livingston, Senior Advisor to the U.S. Special Presidential Envoy for Climate.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the U.S. Pavilion. I hope you're all enjoying a productive and impactful and, most importantly, a well-hydrated COP28 so far. It is a delight to be here for one of our flagship energy events focused on jump-starting the global deployment of new nuclear energy. For those of you who have been here since the first day of COP, and even those who are just following the news, it probably was not lost on you that this has already been a historic COP when it comes to advancing nuclear energy as a climate and clean energy solution. Over 20 countries, small and large, global north, global south, east and west, from across 4 continents, joined the United States and several other co-sponsoring countries on a global pledge to triple nuclear energy by 2050. A historic announcement that enshrines a positive, inclusive, and important pivotal role for nuclear energy in achieving our shared 2050 climate goals. Now, the role of nuclear is not in contrast to any other clean energy solution. It's instead in complement to it. We need a symphony of different resources, from traditional renewables like solar and wind, to new emerging renewable options like enhanced geothermal, energy storage and transmission investment, and of course, baseload clean energy solutions such as nuclear. But of course, pledges, even pledges as exciting as the tripling nuclear pledge, do not achieve themselves. They require hard work and implementation. They require proactive engagement. They require partnerships. Partnerships between the public and private sector, partnerships among countries to scale up the innovation we need, to commercialize it, to bring down costs, and to bring these clean electrons and clean molecules from the next generation of nuclear energy onto grids and into economies around the world. Today, you'll hear about 2 major U.S. announcements that demonstrate U.S. commitment to achieving this at a global scale. And we'll hear reflections from new entrants into the nuclear space, as well as close longtime partners and key private stakeholders who are changing the way we think about advancing both supply and demand for nuclear as a baseload clean energy technology. We have a terrific panel for you here today, including Reta Jo Lewis, Chairwoman of the EXIM Bank, Undersecretary Bonnie Jenkins from the U.S. Department of State, Deputy Minister of Energy of Ghana, Andrew Mercer, Director General Frédéric Beauregard-Tellier from Canada, and a dear friend and former colleague of ours in the Office of the Special Presidential Envoy for Climate during her time as Senior Director for Energy and Climate at the National Security Council, Melanie Nakagawa, Chief Sustainability Officer of Microsoft. But first, before we kick off this terrific panel, let's begin with a few brief remarks on the vision for scaling up nuclear energy using solutions both extant and emerging from a voice that needs no introduction on this important issue and on energy innovation in general. Please let me introduce virtual remarks from the Chairman of TerraPower, Bill Gates.
Everyone here is familiar with the problem. We have to prevent carbon emissions from every sector of the economy in nearly every country in the entire world during the next 30 years. That's a gigantic challenge. Nuclear energy is uniquely positioned to help. It's carbon-free, it's reliable, and it can operate around the clock anywhere in the world. The successful grids of the future will have significant nuclear energy, probably 20 to 30%, with the balance coming from renewable sources. The advanced reactors under development today will be key to that grid. The new designs improve on the already impressive safety record of today's nuclear plants. The new plants also can operate at higher temperatures, providing heat for industrial applications. Some of the designs enable an operator to raise or lower the electricity output, balancing out the variations in the renewable sources. I want to share a few lessons we've learned at TerraPower, the nuclear power company I helped found 15 years ago. We're building our first reactor called Natrium in Wyoming, right next to a retiring coal facility. One lesson is that it's critical to have a local workforce that can support the nuclear work. The similarities between a coal plant and a nuclear plant mean that many of people in the workforce can immediately transfer over. The nuclear industry provides high-paying, long-term jobs that are great for local communities. Sharing best practices will be very important as we make the transition to this new energy economy. As the world shifts the infrastructure for coal plants to nuclear energies, countries will share what they've learned about training the local workforce and making a smooth transition. Of course, industry and government need to work together because the transition, the quicker it happens, the better. As more sectors of the economy are electrified, demand for energy will grow, which means that we need to more than double our electricity generation. For nuclear to play its role, we need to triple that. So in order to achieve these goals, now's the time to build the plan, to determine how industry can play its role and government can facilitate that. This has to happen on a global scale, not just in one country, as we drive towards decarbonization.
Please welcome to the stage Reta Jo Lewis, Chair of the EXIM Bank.
I'm telling you, I know we must be doing something right. We are very excited, and first I want to thank our hosts here at the U.S. Center for having us here today. And to be here alongside Undersecretary Jenkins is such an honor and a privilege for me. She and I have served on numerous opportunities together around women in national security, but now she is our Undersecretary. Deputy Minister Mercer and Director General Tallier, it is exciting to be here with David and also our good friend Melanie from Microsoft and the rest of the U.S. team. You know, there are going to be a number of announcements today, and we're very excited about the news that EXIM is doing. You know, we have our guests and our partners, nations and the private sector. We're going to be hearing a lot about what we're all doing together. As you know, EXIM has provided financing for overseas nuclear transactions for over 5 decades and has world-class expertise in analyzing the technical, legal, and financial risk in the international nuclear sector. You know, Congress has asked us to make more financing available in key areas that promote clean energy technology deployment overseas, that reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and helps us address the climate crisis. You know, there is a real success story for us to tell here today. In 2021, EXIM funded just $11 million in climate transactions while supporting 50 jobs in the process. In 2022, that climate funding grew to $175 million with 550 U.S. jobs supported. But just that last year, in FY 2023, we funded over $1 billion in climate transactions while supporting 4,700 American jobs. And so this upward trend is one of which we want to continue to do as we continue to be in environments like this, in this ecosystem that will continue to flourish. You know, there's been so many collaborators that we have worked with across the United States government. Our president calls it the whole of government approach, where the State Department, the U.S. International Development Finance Corporation, the U.S. Trade and Development Agency, the Department of Commerce, State, and, of course, the Department of Energy, where we are all working together to support civilian U.S. nuclear exports in several countries, including Romania, Poland, Brazil, India, and so many more. You know, one of the things at EXIM is that we know that the potential of nuclear energy to address both decarbonization and the growing demand for electricity is clearer than ever before. At EXIM, we have prioritized the export of advanced nuclear technologies to promote economic growth, enhance global security, and safeguard our environment to ensure that American nuclear exporters can compete on a level playing field. You know, these are projects that we know helps American workers to be employed and boost our economic growth across the U.S. while also improving the lives of people living around the world. We know at EXIM we are demonstrating ways in which we can be a global game changer for companies that create American goods and services domestically and export them globally. And everyone here knows SMR technology provides, and SMRs provide flexible modular power solutions that can be more easily co-located with other power systems and with a physical footprint that's much smaller than conventional nuclear power. So we want to employ U.S. technologies to be at the forefront of this coming global wave of deployments. And with all of the attendant job creation and durable supply chains that those entail. So that's why I'm proud to announce today that EXIM board voted last week to approve a resolution setting out the board's willingness to fund applications for the export of U.S.-made SMR systems and components. EXIM has several new financing flexibilities that can be of real value to potential buyers of SMR systems. So, for example, EXIM can help borrowers finance exposure fees and interest payments while a reactor is being built. EXIM can support pre-export disbursement of loans during equipment fabrication, and EXIM can work with other export credit agencies to help jointly finance the various components of a given SMR exports. You know, all of these important new and existing flexibilities are summarized in a new fact sheet, which I think was presented to each one of you and will be also available for those that don't have it at their seat. These are new SMR financings that are part of a toolkit of financing that we are publishing today as well. We're going to be posting that link online at exim.gov, and we have some copies that you have today. So as we voted last week to send a very clear signal that we are ready at U.S. EXIM to fund credit-worthy applications for U.S. SMR exports. So I want to thank Bonnie and all of my colleagues at State and DOE for working with us here over these last several weeks and for the fantastic partnership going forward. So let me just sum up. There's a lot of great work to do here, and going forward, EXIM looks forward to receiving those applications for SMR exports. And we will hope to see you all very, very soon in this important moment for all of us. It now gives me additional great pleasure to introduce our ambassador, Bonnie Jenkins, who is the Undersecretary of State for Arms Control and International Security. You know, our ambassador has decades of experience in this arena. As the Undersecretary, she also leads 3 bureaus: Arms Control, Compliance and Verification, the International Security and Non-Proliferation Bureau, and the Office of Political Military Affairs. You know, in addition, in 2023, our Secretary of State, Blinken, named Mrs. Jenkins, our ambassador, as the senior official to lead the department's efforts on Australia, UK, and the US implementation. So when you see someone who has had and led over 4 nuclear summits for our Department of State, who has been a special envoy throughout numerous administrations. We're really glad to be partnering again with the Department of State and all of our USG colleagues in this whole of government effort that we're talking about today. Thank you very much. Now, I present to you Ambassador Jenkins.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. And I see the noise has gone down a little bit, so hopefully I can finish before there's too much competition. So it's really my honor to be here, and I want to thank all of you for being here as well. I am pleased to be here with such an esteemed panel, and of course my close colleague from EXIM, Chair Reta Jo Lewis. Always a pleasure. To discuss this important role that nuclear energy plays in supporting our climate goals. And I can just say how nice it is to see so much discussion on nuclear energy. It's really nice to see this at COP28, and I know that we will continue to see this in the future as there is a growing recognition of the importance of nuclear energy in reaching our climate goals. I first want to say how excited I am to join Chair Lewis in announcing the EXIM SMR financing toolkit. At the Department of State, we have seen a pronounced increase in the interest in deploying new nuclear to meet critical energy security needs. And our teams at State and EXIM have been working very hard to identify tools and processes that will make it easier for potential customers abroad to finance U.S. SMR solutions. EXIM has shown great creativity and flexibility in compiling this toolkit, and we are thrilled that the EXIM board has endorsed it. This new toolkit will help to jumpstart SMR deployments abroad to help meet critical climate goals with advanced technologies during this global transition to a cleaner future. On that note, on Saturday, it was an honor for us to have U.S. Special Presidential Envoy for Climate, John Kerry, join leaders and ministers from 4 continents to launch the declaration to triple nuclear energy here at COP. The declaration recognizes the key role of nuclear energy in achieving global net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2050 and keeping the 1.5 degree goal within reach. The declaration also highlights the need for resilient supply chains and invites shareholders of the World Bank, international financial institutions, and regional development banks to encourage the inclusion of nuclear energy in their lending policies. This declaration sets the stage for so much of what we are aiming to achieve here at COP and beyond. In fact, recognizing the essential role that nuclear energy must play in our global net zero targets, the United States has been working with like-minded countries to enable a secure nuclear fuel supply chain to meet our global aspirational goal of tripling nuclear energy generation by 2050. In Sapporo, at the G7 ministers meeting on climate, energy, and environment last April, the United States, Canada, Japan, and France, the Sapporo 5, resolved to leverage each of our unique capabilities to deliver a secure supply chain of nuclear fuels with the goal of freeing nuclear energy producers from dependence on Russia. Reducing global reliance on Russia will require addressing a significant gap in uranium enrichment and conversion capacity. On behalf of the U.S. administration, I would like to announce that we, the Sapporo 5, intend to work towards investing the financial resources necessary to increase our own enriched uranium production capacity, to provide secure and reliable nuclear fuel supplies to like-minded countries seeking to pursue peaceful nuclear programs in support of clean energy and energy security needs. The Sapporo 5 statement recognizes that collectively, our 5 countries are responsible for 50% of the world's uranium conversion and enrichment production capacity today. As part of the statement, we underscore our intent to mobilize at least $4.2 billion of government-led investment in our 5 nations' collective enrichment and conversion capacity over the next 5 years, with a view to catalyze private sector finance. This number includes $700 million the U.S. government is investing in establishing a domestic high-assay, low-enriched uranium, HALEU, capacity under the Inflation Reduction Act, as well as President Biden's request to Congress for $2.16 billion to support LEU and HALEU conversion and enrichment capabilities in the United States. We intend to promote public-private investment in enrichment uranium production capacity, free from Russian material, utilizing the unique competencies of each partner. We intend to remove any remaining Russian fuel and uranium supply to our countries by 2030 and work with our international partners to end international dependence on Russia and build shared, resilient, allied supply chains free from the risk of political leverage. Our collective action is expected to establish a robust global uranium supply market free from Russian influence and the potential to be subject to political leverage by other countries. Finally, we, the Sapporo 5, invite all like-minded nations seeking reliable nuclear energy partners to join us in securing the global uranium supply chain. I want to thank you for this opportunity to make this major announcement here at the U.S. Center at COP28. And now it's really my honor and pleasure to introduce Deputy Minister of Energy, Andrew Mercer from Ghana.
Thank you for the honor, Undersecretary Jenkins. Let me also acknowledge Chair Lewis of the U.S. EXIM Bank and Director General Bogard from Canada, and of course my friend Nagakawa from Microsoft Nuclear Strategy. Good afternoon to all of you. Of course, government leaders, energy and climate experts are increasingly acknowledging that nuclear energy can be a critical component of the global transition to a low-carbon energy system that, when it reaches its full potential, stakeholders must have a clear vision of how to pursue new nuclear energy projects and industries responsibly, sustainably, and effectively. Meeting our energy demand is necessary to sustain industrial and economic growth, mostly required by developing economies. Hence, Ghana, a lower-income country, saw it necessary to rejuvenate its nuclear program in 2008 to meet the foreseen growth of domestic energy demand and industrialization drive for the country. The Ghana Nuclear Power Program Organization was inaugurated in September 2012 to establish the terms of reference and roadmap for the successful takeoff of the country's nuclear power program. The government of Ghana then established the 2 key institutions recommended by the IAEA, the Nuclear Regulatory Authority by Act of Parliament, NRA Act 2015, Act 895, to regulate the nuclear energy sector and all nuclear installations to ensure an effective regulatory regime concerning nuclear safety, security, and safeguards, and also the Nuclear Power Ghana, which was established in 2018 under the Companies Act following cabinet consideration and approval as proposed owner and operator. In 2017 and in 2019, upon the invitation of Ghana, the IAEA International Peer Review Mission undertook a review of Ghana's Phase 1 nuclear infrastructure development studies and concluded that Ghana has undertaken all the prescribed studies for the government to make a knowledgeable commitment to a nuclear power program. These studies and activities have been consolidated into the nuclear program's comprehensive report. We have currently received approval for the acquisition of our preferred and backup nuclear sites to host our Ghana's first nuclear power plant. The world obviously is migrating to cleaner sources of energy, of which nuclear is envisaged as a critical source of energy. Ghana cannot be left behind in this global search for energy security. In this regard, Ghana launched its energy transition framework at COP27 in Egypt in 2022. The framework emphasizes Ghana's commitment to fulfilling a pledge to implement measures that will address climate change and its negative impact on our socio-economic gains. Ghana recognizes that the energy sector is key in reducing emissions, and steps must be taken to transition this sector towards a net zero emissions future to ensure that Ghana contributes her quota to the reduction of global GH emissions, and more importantly, achieve decarbonization, energy access, and energy security. The National Energy Transition Framework, which is aimed at decarbonizing the energy sector, has nuclear energy as a key decarbonization source to provide clean energy for homes and industry, as well as ensuring that Ghana's transition is achieved in a just and equitable manner. His Excellency the President of Ghana, who issued a white paper on the inclusion of nuclear in the energy mix in Ghana in July 2022, also stated in the foreword to the National Energy Transition Framework document that the framework will serve as a blueprint for transitioning Ghana into a climate-resilient, low-carbon energy country that will accelerate her development efforts and enhance the well-being of her people without sacrificing the quality of her environment and resources. These actions of government clearly demonstrate the government of Ghana's full support of the Ghana nuclear power program and readiness to provide the necessary support to accelerate the nuclear program to meet the targets outlined in the nuclear roadmap. Based on the encouraging support from the International Atomic Energy Agency, 15 vendor countries and companies expressed interest to assist Ghana in the development of a nuclear power program when we issued our request for proposals in 2021. As we all know, energy is the heartbeat of every economy, and it's important that we have enough of it to support our economic and social development to enhance the welfare of our citizenry. Our right to develop our energy resources for the benefit of our people must therefore be respected with no interferences. Our first responsibility is to ensure that the transition does not worsen existing social inequalities. As we move away from fossil energy sources, we must consider the impact on the workforce dependent on these industries. Developing countries are already failing to achieve the SDG 7 targets of providing clean, affordable energy for all by 2030 due to the intense financial commitment required to address energy poverty. Hence, most developing countries heavily rely on fuel wood to meet their energy needs. In the phase of energy transition, this source of fuel will erode. The little gains made by in these few years in our quest to combat climate change. Developed countries supporting the developing economies should not consider investment in only generation sources, but the power transmission and distribution infrastructure, clean cooking fuel technologies, and human resource development to provide a sustainable green energy economy. In this regard, it is refreshing to hear that the US EXIM has announced these funding to support the development of small nuclear reactors, and we intend to take advantage by engaging with them to see how we chart this course together. Thank you for your kind attention, and may God bless us all.
Please welcome to the stage Frederic Beauregard Tellier, Director General for Nuclear Energy at Natural Resources Canada.
Good afternoon. I'm going to have to duck down here. I'm a little bit too tall for this. Let me know. Is the sound okay? Yeah, okay, great. It's a real honor to be here with you today, so thank you very much, and thank you, colleagues on the panel and Under Secretary Jenkins. You know, we think of ourselves as pretty humble, us Canadians, especially, you know, being north of the giant United States of America. We are good at a few things. We're very good at ice hockey, as I think many people know. But we're also pretty good at nuclear energy. We're a tier 1 nuclear country. We've been producing nuclear energy safely, reliably in Canada for over 50 years. And so today I just want to talk a little bit about that. And I want to associate myself with everything that the other panelists have said. We have a huge challenge, right? It's decarbonizing our economies. It's improving our energy security. Huge challenge. Like, we should not underestimate how difficult it is. Like, nuclear energy can be challenging, right? But we can do it, and we can do it by working together. And I think that's a big theme here at this COP, and I'm really glad that you've brought us together. So I promise I'll be short, but allow me. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Oh, that's so much better. Thank you. So I promise I'll be brief, but I just wanted to say a few things about our experience in Canada. So, as I mentioned earlier, we are a nuclear energy country. We've been producing nuclear energy for a long time, and it's served us really well. In the province of Ontario, where I live, we have a little bit over 14,000 gigawatts of nuclear. It meets about 60% of our electricity needs, and these are plants that are running at tremendous capacity factors, really successful. And we were happy to associate ourselves with the pledge to triple. And we know we need to do that in Canada as well. We're trying to very quickly decarbonize our economy, decarbonize our electricity system. We're going to need a lot more electricity as we look to electrify our entire economy. We need to decarbonize our heavy industry. We're a big oil producer in Canada. We produce a lot of metals and minerals. Nuclear energy can be a contributor to helping us decarbonize our heavy industry. So we're investing. We're moving forward with more large nuclear reactors in the province of Ontario. Ontario's already announced that it intends to move forward with at least 4,800 megawatts of new large nuclear reactors. Bruce Power, I don't know if they're here. They've got a process underway, and we fully expect that there will be more. SMRs, Ontario Power Generation has announced that they're building one of the world's first GE Hitachi BWRX 300 units at their Darlington facility, which we expect to be online in 2029. Exciting to hear the announcement from EXIM. This is fantastic technology. It's U.S. technology. We're embracing it in Canada, and we think it has a lot of potential in Poland and all kinds of other markets around the world, so we're excited about that. Micro-modular reactors, we've got some projects underway. Westinghouse is here. They've got the interesting eVinci micro-reactor project, which we're embracing in the province of Saskatchewan with a demonstration project that will also be online by around 2029. So that's exciting. We have a lot of remote communities in Canada. We have a lot of off-grid industrial facilities that could use heat and power from those kinds of small reactors. I'm already talking too much. Fuel, I will agree with everything that Under Secretary Jenkins said. It is so important that we have a really robust nuclear fuel supply chain amongst like-minded partners. Canada is a very important producer of uranium. We bring that to the table. We will continue to be a reliable partner in terms of uranium production. Cameco is here. I don't know if they're here, but they're here at this COP. We have conversion capacity. We know we need to do more, and excited to work with our colleagues. So just to wrap up, what can Canada contribute to jump-starting? We have a long history. We have a proven track record. We've got established companies. We have a unique technology in CANDU. We have CANDU units in a number of countries, including Romania. I see Cosmin Ghita at the back. They're building new CANDU reactors, which is very exciting, with support from EXIM and from our own Export Development Agency. We've got regulatory expertise. The Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission, very active internationally, can share best practices. Lots of experience in waste management. We've been managing nuclear waste safely and securely for decades. We're moving forward with a deep geological repository project. Great opportunities for collaboration. So Working together, we can do this, reducing emissions, addressing our climate change objectives, energy security. And again, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity today.
And now, welcome to the stage, Melanie Nakagawa, Chief Sustainability Officer at Microsoft.
I'm going to avoid being double mic'd. Oh, I'll let you get it back. That way there's no feedback. Well, first, congrats to the U.S. Center. I think I've been at the U.S. Center on several occasions, and this is no small feat to pull off. And so really thank you all for getting here and finding it, but also a big congrats to the U.S. Center. I mean, every year the U.S. government puts together this incredible programming for everyone, and it's just an honor and a privilege to be part of the agenda for this discussion, but also be able to talk about nuclear. So thanks to everybody for that. So I thought I would just spend a few moments talking about Microsoft, nuclear, and you might be asking, why, how, what is this? So let me share a little bit more about that. So for Microsoft, we're a global technology company. We have a mission to empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. No small task. This includes enabling sustainability of our company, our customers, and for the world. In 2020, we announced pretty bold, ambitious commitments. We want to be carbon negative, water positive, and zero waste, all by 2030. So Microsoft, we have a vested interest in what's happening around the world, especially around grid decarbonization and doing that faster and quicker at a pace and scale we haven't seen before. As part of that, we are looking at our long-term vision of having all the world's electric grids, 100% of the electrons, 100% of the time be powered by carbon-free sources of power. That is a key enablement to our plan to be carbon negative by 2030. So to make progress on this, we need to see carbon-free energy grids moving faster around the world, modernizing grid infrastructure and transmission, and ensuring an equitable future around energy for all. To do this, I'll frame it in three key ways, and I'll talk about these three areas. We're making progress as a leading clean energy buyer, as a technology innovator, and as a policy advocate. Our investments and our actions are by design steps to show what it looks like to be a first mover to help broaden a market for the availability of these clean energy resources. And we're making progress. So as a buyer, Microsoft is proud to say that we are one of the largest corporate purchasers of renewable power on the market today. We've contracted 19 gigawatts of renewable power. We also, as a technology innovator, announced a $1 billion climate innovation fund in 2020 as part of our commitment around sustainability to accelerate technology development and innovation in climate change. And third, as a policy advocate, we want to advance energy and climate policies around the world to innovate technology solutions with our partners and other governments. So firm carbon-free power sources are essential to what we need. They're a great complement to where renewables are, and renewables will remain and continue to remain an instrumental part to reaching our targets. But we know that complete grid decarbonization requires a multi-technology approach that considers a range of carbon-free technologies. We call it multi-technology. David Livingstone called it a symphony, either or. So what we're excited to share with you today is that we published a policy brief that outlines the importance of carbon-free electricity, the role of advanced nuclear and fusion energy, how that plays in a decarbonized energy future, and the policies to guide our advocacy in this space. What I thought I'd share with you is just three of those key policy areas that we're looking to advance, because that's key to what's in this paper as well. So first is development. We want to see an advanced research, development, and demonstration, the RD&D, and that includes things like supporting RD&D programs, funding investment opportunities, advocating for programs that enable testing, grid analysis, and modeling, and supporting advanced nuclear and fusion energy as part of carbon-free generation in countries that support those technologies. Second, on the deployment side, we want to enable safe deployment of advanced nuclear and fusion energy technologies in those geos where they support those types of technologies. To do that, we want to assist in the first of its kind projects through the development process. We want to modernize the permitting and licensing processes, and we want to leverage digital technology to help optimize these grid outcomes. And the third policy priority is around regulatory oversight. We want to encourage the oversight of advanced nuclear and fusion energy technologies to enable cost-effective, safe, and grid-optimized outcomes that consider the local context. This is everything to ensure robust community engagement. I almost used a Canadian version of robust. Manage costs associated with the development, deployment, and operation of these reactors, as well as the fusion energy technologies. And we want to ensure regulatory pathways, ensure safe, cost-effective, and grid-optimized outcomes. But in addition to the policy brief, which is really critical to at least give you a sense of where we stand on these different issues, we also take action. We take action as an energy buyer, as a thought partner, and as a tech innovator. We're helping to support and enable the development and deployment of various advanced reactor technologies. I'd love to share more on the panel, but I'll give you a small snippet right now. I'll share with you what we're doing with TerraPraxis. TerraPraxis is a partnership we started back in 2022, where we signed an agreement to help deliver a digital solution to tackle significant decarbonization challenge, which is around coal-fired power plants. There's around 2,400 coal-fired power plants worldwide, and we want to help transition those to carbon-free sources of power. So we launched last year at COP27 this partnership, where together we're working to look at how the wider small modular reactor community can be advanced with the Repowering Coal Consortium to really understand the major blockers there are to transitioning coal to other technologies like advanced reactors. What we really welcome is a dialogue, collaboration, and partnerships with so many of those in the room, but also out there in the interwebs. Because we're not alone in this effort. We know that for Microsoft to do well, the world needs to do well. We know we take, frankly, with a lot of sobriety, the global stock take that shows that the world is not on track, and we need a multi-technology solutions to come to the table to help us get back on track and go even further. And things like nuclear technology, advanced reactor technology, as well as fusion energy are key parts of that solution. So I really look forward to the discussion we're about to have with a great moderator and lots of colleagues.
And now the second part of our panel, our event here today, our panel discussion. I now invite all the speakers on stage once the chairs are on stage, as they're being done shortly, and we'll have a wonderful panel discussion.
Terrific. There have been so many wonderful comments and insights and announcements that I don't know what more can actually be added, but perhaps we can use this conversational period to pick apart a little bit more and engage on exactly what this all means, how we can work together, and what the agenda looks like to implement on some of these goals, on some of these initiatives over the next several years. I'd like to start with this lightning round of questions going around to our illustrious panel with you, Chair Lewis, and as well as you, actually, Undersecretary Jenkins. If I could ask both of you, perhaps, maybe even in conversation a little bit, can you talk about why it is such a critical time right now with where we are in the clean energy transition, with where we are in advancing the next suite of nuclear energy technologies, why it is so important for the U.S. government to be involved, and how different U.S. government tools brought to the table can work together synergistically to scale this up as a commercial option in the clean energy transition?
I want to start with the ambassador. Yes, first of all, thanks for the question. I think we've referenced it a little bit today already, and in a prior panel I was in, we also talked about how different this is right now, because there's such a focus, as you can see, on nuclear energy at this COP. And I think it's a reflection of the fact that, as I said, countries are recognizing that they want to diversify and they want to find different ways in which they can meet their energy needs. And also recognition that we're not going to, as a global community, we're not going to reach our goals unless we include nuclear energy as one of those processes. And so the increased interest around the world is really amazing. And I said earlier in another panel, for example, I do a lot of travel internationally, speaking with a lot of government officials, and so impressed by the interest in nuclear technology and SMRs. And so now we have the challenge of trying to meet the demand.
The U.S. Has been doing quite a bit, as we already talked about. Department of State has a number of programs. We have at least 5 or 6 different type of programs that we have engaged in to try to also bring in new countries interested in technology. Whether it's our first program, which is where we do a lot of capacity building and training for countries who want to get involved in these actions. Whether it's our Project Phoenix, which is helping countries move away from coal assets to safe and secure SMRs. Whether it's the work that we're talking about today that we launched. We also have a number of programs where we work with countries bringing in funding. We have one where we're working with Japan, the UAE, as well, and we're an ROK funding work in Romania, for example. We have a lot of work that we're doing in Poland. We've done a lot of training and capacity building in Ghana. We also just signed an agreement with the Philippines. So there's a lot going on, and it's a whole government effort, and also industry as well.
The thing, taking off from what the ambassador said, not only are countries looking to diversify their energy needs, they're actually looking to diversify their financing structures. And so that's where we come in. And in so doing, it's like not just about us. It is about how we bring in the private sector. How do we bring in the philanthropic community? How do we bring in our state and local governments who have a major stake in this, because that's where these technologies are being deployed in communities. So we believe that all stakeholders have a part of what is getting ready to happen in this very historic moment that we find ourselves in. And so the thing that I think, taking off of what our minister said from Canada and all our minister from Ghana, we are in a time whereby all of us working together as allies and friends have the ability to co-finance together, and that's why we have spent a significant amount of time over these last years of ensuring that we reset our relationships, and in so doing talk about the work that we're doing and how we can actually do it and partner together, because it is going to be through those strategic partnerships with the public sector, the private sector, and philanthropic communities that we're going to see that we're going to have this sense of urgency that we need in this space right now.
Terrific. You both talked about how we work with our friends and the suite of different tools and partnerships that we can offer those friends. So Deputy Minister Mercer, I want to turn to you to talk a little bit about Ghana's experience. I know Ghana is a key participant in our first program with the United States. And the United States government also just announced that it'll be working on developing an SMR control room simulator in Ghana, very similar to the first one outside of the United States that was just built in Romania. And I see Cosmin Gita from Road Power at the back of the room there. We had the chance, Secretary Kerry had the chance to tour that control room simulator. What does this new development and some of the partnership work with the United States mean for Ghana's desire to be a regional hub for nuclear across Africa?
Thank you very much. Obviously, Ghana is not a nuclear country, but we clearly recognize, based on the work that we're doing so far, the need for us to build capacity because we recognize that nuclear requires highly skilled, highly technical personnel. And so even though we only have put in place a regulatory environment and have only begun to set up the systems, we have already commenced the processes of building the capacity of our people through collaboration with our friends in the United States and Japan, and to see how we build capacity through the initiatives that you just indicated. Ghana is a beneficiary of the first program. We've also, only last month, September 2023, agreed with the United States to set up a regional training center in Ghana to help us build the capacity of our personnel, so that by the time we are able to get to the point where we set up our plants, we would have built the requisite skill sets within our manpower in Ghana to manage our nuclear plants. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And now let me turn to our north, to Canada. Let me ask, can you tell us a little bit more about as you reflect on everything that has just been said about the U.S. approach, what is Canada's approach to SMR deployment? And where do you see synergies with some of the other, countries that we've discussed here today, including the United States?
Sure. Thanks, David, for the question. So, yeah, I mean, we're embracing SMRs. There's no question about that. I talked about the project in Ontario that OPG is pursuing, the GE Hitachi BWRX 300. We have other provinces that are actively pursuing SMR projects. New Brunswick's working with ARC Energy and Moltex. Our western provinces, Alberta, Saskatchewan, are actively pursuing SMR projects as well, both for electricity and for industrial applications. The eVinci technology is one such technology. I mentioned recently there's an agreement there with Saskatchewan. So there's just lots going on. We're going to need all of the technologies is kind of the bottom line. And I mean, I'm really optimistic, right? Not all of these technologies are going to succeed, but a lot of them are going to succeed. And we have the know-how collectively to get this done and to solve this problem by working together. It's a bit cliche to say that, but it's true, right? And we have the engineers and we have the financial means, again, working together. And this is where the export development banks come in to help some of our partners. And we can crack this nut and we can get to net zero, and nuclear, we feel, has an important role to play in that. Thank you.
Terrific. Thank you. Melanie, obviously you've heard a lot about the role of governments, but we can't do this without private sector stepping up as well and private sector demand stepping up. Can you talk a little bit more about how Microsoft sees the role of the private sector and what others can do to step up following in your footsteps?
There's a lot that the private sector can do, and I'm glad we kind of went down this way, and I'm glad you said OPG, because I wasn't going to have to pronounce the whole thing. But it's Ontario Power Generation. The reason why I mentioned that is because there's a lot private sector can do, and it is in partnership. And so, as I mentioned in my opening comments, I wanted to share a bit more about what does this look like in practice, like where does the private sector show up? And I say the first way is we participate. We participate in the market. We participate in the market that exists today. So today, Microsoft, so back in 2022, just last year, Microsoft announced a partnership with OPG to procure the clean energy credits that were coming off of both the hydropower assets and the nuclear power assets. We also participate in the future. Earlier this year, Microsoft announced a procurement with Helion Power, a fusion energy company that we hope to be online by the end of this decade, and to be an off-taker of that as well. So that's the first way that companies can engage, is to participate in the market, to back the incredible talent, the innovation, the government support that is out there in these technologies, to be that off-taker, to be the voice that says, we support this kind of solution. The second way is as an advocate, to help advocate for the policies with all these people here, to say where the private sector wants to see the growth in the demand, why we need that clean energy grid to come into fruition faster and at a faster scale than ever before. And then the third way we participate is as an innovator. What kind of technology solutions and innovation can private sector bring to the table? For us, it's digital solutions that can help decongest grids. It's digital solutions that can help advance faster deployment technologies, find new technologies in this space. To go from the first of its kind to the nth of its kind, first of its kind is 2 to 3 times more expensive. And so again, this is where an area where companies that can do should, and I'm proud to be part of a company that's doing that.
Terrific. I want to ask a little bit of a final lightning round as we count down towards our final minutes of this panel. If I can actually stay down at that end of the panel, and I want to ask both you, Frederick, and you, Melanie, what are some of the challenges that you've faced as you've stepped into kind of working to advance SMRs, either on obviously from a government advancement perspective or from looking at it as a demand side player? What are some challenges that either you've faced or that you anticipate in the years ahead that we need to be thinking about?
For us, the challenge is going to be once getting the power online, how do you transmit that power? Transmission is a key part of this. I think one of the challenges that we're really excited to engage in is how do you ensure that we can not only decongest the existing grid to bring more clean sources of power online, but also build new transmission so as we build these new facilities, as we bring online these new projects, they can actually get to the projects or the grids in which we operate.
Terrific. Fred?
Yeah, it's an excellent question. Two words: push through. The first few units, we're going to run into challenges. We all know that. There are probably going to be more expensive than we would like, and there's going to be some hiccups, but we just got to keep pushing through. We got to build a lot of these things, right? We want to build a lot of these things in Canada. I'm sure in America you're looking to build a lot of these things, and around the world, right? That's the only way that we can really make a dent on our carbon emissions. And yeah.
A bigger order book means cheaper nuclear power, cheaper nuclear electrons, cheaper nuclear molecules. Yep. What about Deputy Minister Mercer? If I can ask you the same thing from a different perspective, a perspective new nuclear country, what challenges have you faced over the past few months, years?
Well, I guess that capacity in terms of skill sets, which we are working to address through the collaborations that we are building with our colleagues who already have experience in that sector. Again, acceptability. When you raise the issue of nuclear, everybody quickly goes to Chernobyl and Fukushima. And so as a country, we need to work to ensure that we educate our people to appreciate that nuclear as a base load is critical in our energy transition agenda, and that they ought to recognize that it's been used across the world over the years as a safe source of energy. And so that is what we have to work on, and critically funded, because it doesn't come cheap. It's extremely expensive. But of course, there are small modular reactors that are being developed, and only this evening we've had some refreshing news from the US EXIM. We've already been working with them. They're providing some support through the first initiative and all that. And so we're going to continue at that to ensure that we do not have to reinvent the wheel. There's already best practice that has been established, and we're going to follow that path to ensure that Ghana has a successful rollout of our nuclear program. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And now Chair Lewis, Under Secretary Jenkins, one sort of final question for both of you, and really you in Fusion, because these sorts of announcements, this sort of work, as many of us know, does not happen overnight, and it is not in the sole prerogative of one single agency or office. It takes incredible collaboration, work through the interagency to put together. Could you describe a little bit the work that has led up to this announcement, to this moment, to this momentum, and why it should give confidence to the international community that it will be a mainstay of U.S. policy here for years and decades to come?
Well, I'll be brief as I watch the clock run down. The U.S. has been working with countries for many years on civil nuclear issues, working with countries that were interested in getting the larger reactors. So we have a history in doing that. I think that right now is seeing the issues of climate change, seeing the things that are happening in the world and international security challenges that's happening in terms of countries that want to get off of Russian fuel and Russian dependence. These are all kind of culminated in this need to really accelerate, and also recognizing we have to be innovative in how we do this now because of the strong desire for reactors and nuclear technology. And so we have to be innovative in how we do it. And so things like the FIRST program, which is building capacity, is one way that we can try to help ensure that countries have what they need, both in terms of manpower and skills, to actually to do this. And also we recognize the need to work, we say across, you say whole of government, but I think you're seeing here, and with the FIRST program, we work with industry, we work with academia, we work with, the labs that are out there. We work with a lot of people because the only way we're going to do this is to work with all of the relevant players on a regular basis and develop this. So it's something we've done for a while, but we've had to really accelerate it and do it in a way that's also safe, secure, and non-proliferation focused.
I think the thing that is so exciting about the work that we're doing from an interagency perspective, it's all about leadership. And I think that through the Biden-Harris administration and through our president, he has provided that. When we have been able to be called to the table to participate, we don't say the word whole of government lightly. I can look around in this room today and see all of the individuals that we have been crisscrossing, not only in Washington, but also around the world. And we were just in Ghana with the leadership there as they were looking at a whole host of issues when they hosted the first U.S.-Africa nuclear summit. At the end of the day, it's about how are we going to leverage not only what happens in government, but what do we do with the private sector? And that is the work that is so exciting. And to be able to see Melanie and others here from industry is what's going to be important as we leverage to be able to move quicker and faster.
Ladies and gentlemen, you cannot see the giant red clock that's facing us, but I want to let you know that as Chair Lewis just finished her comment, it was perfectly timed to go from 1 to 0. I don't know if there will be another panel at the U.S. Pavilion that will be so perfectly timed. So I will give you no closing remarks. We're gonna take this win as we have it. I want to thank you all so much for joining us. I want to thank the terrific, diligent, hardworking, under-recognized staff behind the U.S. Center here. And we hope you enjoy an excellent rest of COP28 and that we see you again soon here at the U.S. Center. Thank you very much.